What is going on, Swoopers? Welcome back to another episode of Swoop Luke. This will be the first off-season episode. In this one, we're going to be talking about all the trade rumours, Goey, Treloar. That's pretty much it in this episode because that's the news at the moment. So let's run that intro, jump straight into it. Just before we do jump straight into it, of course, follow me on all my socials, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch. I've been streaming Twitch every 2 or 3 days, and I really appreciate it. Again, over 100 followers, so thank you all for joining me. Won't be doing anything today because it's the Copeland, but tomorrow on Wednesday, I'll be back on it, streaming either Crash Bandicoot or something a little bit different. But anyway, let's get into these trade rumours. So if you're not already aware or you've been sitting under like a huge rock, let me give you a brief rundown of what is going on with this Jordan Goey situation. So, apparently, it's all apparent because no one really knows anything, not even these journos, they just throw shit to wall and hopefully something sticks. But apparently, what Jordan Goey wants and what Collingwood are offering is about $200,000 off. Jordan Goey is commanding or wanting about $800,000. Collingwood are saying, we can give you about $650 with, 4, 5, 6 year deal. There was talks that he would sign for $900,000 for 2 years, 2 years at $900,000, take him to free agency and then see where he goes from there. Could be a clause in his contract that signs on, kind of like what Andrew Gaff did with the West Coast Eagles. But now it's not really come to light, but there's been a lot of rumours that he wants to go to Carlton or Carlton want him. Carlton have said that they don't want him. Because of his demands, and he's demanding $1 million. Jordan Goey has finished in our Copeland top 10 once in 2018. For the 6 years he's been here, he's commanding $800,000 to $1 million. You do remember that a couple of years ago, actually I think it was last year, the Kangaroos came out and said, we'll give you $1 million a season, and he turned him down to stay at the Pies, which looked good for us. Mainly because no one wants to go to the Kangaroos anyway, but that was at the end of 2018 where he was playing really good, tantalising football, and now he's really not doing that. Yes, he's been injured and stuff. He does have that court case being held over his head, but I'm not really going to get into that until that's become finalised and we know what's going on with that. But what I wanted to do now is I just wanted to give you a couple of trade scenarios that I think could work if he decides that, or if he and Carlton decide, yes, they're going to go to Carlton, or yes, they're going to go to Essendon, which seem to be the two front runners besides Collingwood, what that can mean for us, and we'll just break it down from there, and then we'll talk about Adam Treloar a little bit later. So the first trade scenario that I've been brewing in my head is that pick 7, which is Carlton's first pick, I think is worth Goey going there, right? Pick 7 and maybe a player, because we know Jordan Goey, when he can turn it on, he can turn it on. He kicked 5 goals and then he kicked 4 goals in a couple of games this season. He's a good player, but he does want midfield time, and Carlton can offer him that midfield time that Collingwood just can't at the moment. He wants to be in the shape of a Dusty Martin, maybe Dane Swan later in his career, where he played midfield, but then he played forward as well. So obviously we can't offer him midfield time, and Carlton do need a big-bodied midfielder, and De Goey could be that player that they want if they choose to go for him. So pick 7 for De Goey seems to be a kind of a fair deal. What I would suggest is that a pick 7 and a player maybe on the cusp for De Goey and maybe a second rounder. Who you wouldn't want anyone that wouldn't add to the team, obviously. So Mackay or Curnow is who you would want at your club with pick 7 as well, but you'd have to give up obviously De Goey and a second round pick because they do have to trade for him, and Collingwood aren't going to settle for a second round pick and some guy that's just been sitting on the bench in the VFL all season for Jordan De Goey, because we know his value and we know what he's worth. Trade scenario 2 could do with Essendon's pick 6. Pick 6, a straight swap for Jordan De Goey, and maybe a pick 6 and a round 2 for Jordan De Goey. I would take that. There's not really a lot of players on Essendon's list that you would want or that kind of are coming out of there as a big-bodied forward. Obviously, Danaher is going to Brisbane and stuff like that. So you could see pick 6, a second rounder for Jordan De Goey, and I would not object to that. This draft, there's a lot of academy players in this draft, but a pick 6 or a pick 7 really does help our standings. And if you can get that for a guy that clearly, if he's demanding this money and being a bit spoiled in a sense, you kind of take that. You know, you kind of take that. But we know Jordan Goey is a match winner. Another scenario could be Devin Smith and a second rounder for Jordan Goey. Devin Smith won the Essendon Best and Fairest a couple of years ago. Apparently, rumours are saying that he wants out. He's a very hard tackling midfielder. Could slot in kind of in the mould of that sort of Cal Brown type. Just a bit of an upgrade on Cal Brown. Didn't have a really good season this year, but no one at Essendon had a really good season this year anyway. But I don't know, Devin Smith and a second rounder for Jordan Goey, I would kind of do that as well. It have to be a good second rounder though. It have to be something very early to kind of make that a little bit more tantalising. So another trade scenario that could come up is a team that we haven't even talked about. He could be, you know, Kangaroos could have a war chest and offer him another $1 million, and if he wants that $1 million, he could go. But then who do the Kangaroos really have? They do have pick 2, but is Jordan Goey worth a straight pick 2? Probably. If they're going to give away $1 million to De Goey, he's worth pick 2. Otherwise, they wouldn't be paying him $1 million. I would do that in a heartbeat, an absolute heartbeat. You know what you do with that pick 2? You sign Logan McDonald up. 100%. Collingwood boy wants to come to us. Could be something brewing, or he could go to somewhere like St Kilda, who still have a war chest for some reason. They could pay him close to $1 million and could give him that midfield time that he wants. It could go either way. So now let's talk about Adam Treloar. So this Treloar thing has really just blown up over the last couple of days. Yes, his manager has come out and said Treloar staying at Collingwood, and I don't see him not staying at Collingwood. But again, if you've been living under a rock, let me talk to you through what's going on. So Adam Treloar's fiancée, Kim, is a netballer. They had a baby about 6 or 7 months ago. So obviously her netball career had to stop. But she just signed a contract with the Queensland Firebirds. So she'll be moving up to Queensland for pre-season and obviously the season and stuff. And taking their daughter with them for close to a year. So this means that Adam Treloar will be staying in Melbourne and his fiancée and his daughter will be going up to Queensland. Treloar said they'll fly whenever they can and see each other whenever they can. But with such a commanding or demanding schedule, training 3 times a week, the game on the weekends, doesn't leave a lot of room to see his kid and obviously his fiancée and stuff like that. But it just seems a little bit weird because last season, or at the end of last season, we went up to Gold Coast and we said, what would it take for us to take your pick 1 off you? And they said Adam Treloar. We said, Treloar, would you want to go to the Gold Coast? He said, no, wait, I came to Collingwood to play for Collingwood. I said, sweet, fine, done. Wash our hands of that. It was just a question. But now it looks like, God, I reckon only 10% of me feels like he will go up to Queensland. I love him as a player. He accumulates the ball a lot. He hits maybe 40% of his targets. He could be a better user of the ball, but he does accumulate a lot, and he averages a lot of clearances and disposals and hard ball gets and stuff like that for us. And seeing him out of the team, you know, it does suck. It does suck. But again, he's been injured a lot. His hammies, we know, aren't that good. The Gold Coast coach, Stuart Duke, said, yeah, if one of those big players wanted to say that they wanted to come to the Gold Coast Suns, we have pick 5 that we can give up. Pick 5 for Adam Treloar. Done. Wrap it up in a neat little bow, and then maybe you get some steak knives a la Jack Crisp or something like that, you know. Someone that is like a small crumbing forward or a defender. I don't think Peter Wright and pick 5 makes sense. Peter Wright's on about $650,000, a big name player for the Gold Coast Suns anyway. That wouldn't work. But pick 5 and some smaller set of steak knives for Adam Treloar, I think will do the job 100%. And if you feel like De Goey and Treloar leave, you get pick 5, you pick 6 or a pick 7. You could get 2 picks in this year's draft, which would be absolutely huge. Absolutely huge if that could happen. But I don't see Adam Treloar leaving. But if he did, Gold Coast would be where he would go. pick 5 is tasty. Very, very, very tasty. So all of this talk about Goey leaving or Adam Treloar leaving leaves a big hole in our salary cap. And this could mean if one of those does pave the way and they leave, cool, we get a pick. But it could mean that we could land a huge, huge, huge fish, Jeremy Cameron. And the best thing about it is we don't have to trade to the Giants. He's a free agent. We say here's $850,000, 5-6 years. And bang, come to us. We don't have to give the Giants pick 5, pick 6, pick 7, pick 2, whoever. We just say, here's the money, come. There's a lot of talk that he'll go to Geelong or stay at the Giants, but I think we're a sleeping giant in regards to this. He was a Collingwood supporter growing up. We need a big key forward. Cool. Ben Brown could find his way to the Pies. He could find his way to the D's as well. But Jeremy Cameron, we will have the salary cap space for him. That would you'd kind of not sew up the premiership next year. Come on, I'm not that optimistic, but it'll definitely sew up this forward line. With Myercheck, I don't really see Myercheck, Cox, and Cameron playing obviously in the same team. Too tall, etc., etc., etc. But Jeremy Cameron is exactly what we have been crying out for so long. So I asked Instagram for a bunch of questions for me to answer during this video, so I'm just going to read a couple off now. There was a lot about Jeremy Cameron. If Goey leaves, do we get Jeremy Cameron? I just answered that, obviously. But yes, I think that will definitely happen, so thank you for sending in those questions if that was you. State your opinion. Do you think Jordan Goey is overrated? I don't think he's overrated. I think that he overrates himself. He wants to kick goals and he wants to be in the midfield. You just got to do the team thing. You're a good forward, stay forward. Yes, we'll chuck him to the midfield when we can. But in saying that, you need to build your tank to be a midfielder. When he was in the midfield, he wasn't accumulating a lot. He wasn't doing a lot. Jamie Elliott, on the other hand, can play that midfield role really well. Goey doesn't have the tank for it. He has to trim down a lot of kilos and, smash up his running a little bit quicker if he wants a permanent midfield role. But I just don't see that happening, at Collingwood at least. Do you think we'll be able to sign all Maud, Goey and Myercheck? No, I think we'll sign 2 of 3 of those. I think Moore is definitely staying. And by all accounts, I hear Myercheck is staying. Like I've been saying, to Goey, it comes down to, does he want to take that $650 and be a part of a legacy at the Pies? Or does he want to find the money somewhere else, that $1 million, and just run with it? Blessing in disguise, similar to Franklin to the Swans, pick up a big key forward. It could be. Like I've been saying, it could be a blessing in disguise if Goey does want to leave. It'll leave at least $750,000 to $850,000 in the salary cap to get that Jeremy Cameron type, like I've been saying. There's a lot of pick 7 and Harry Mackay questions coming through, so that's exactly what I was saying before. Great minds think alike. Could the Beams contract free up money for Goey? Yeah, so this Beams contract is just an ongoing thing. If Beams retires, he doesn't get the payout and the compensation, so I think that's what he wants. He wants some sort of compensation for the Pies, because he's contracted till 2022, so he's still there, and I think he's taking about $500,000 to $650,000 in our salary cap. Absolutely doing nothing, and he has mental health issues and stuff like that, so power to him, and I hope he does get better, but it is taking a lot of chunk, and if we can get rid of that, not burden, but just that salary cap, that money, we could have money to keep Goey and still go for Jeremy Cameron. And thank you to everyone for asking questions on Instagram. Answered a couple here. Hopefully I answered, if I didn't answer your ones here, hopefully I answered it in previously in the video. So the last thing I'll say about this sort of Goey Treloar scenario is that if they stay, amazing. We love them. We need them. If they go and they can get something for them, something good, a top, two top 10 picks in this year's draft, a good player from another team, free up some salary cap space, you bring Jeremy Cameron in, that's good as well. It's a win-win scenario. Yes, you're losing experience for players that are inexperienced. We saw what happened with Nathan Freeman and Matthew Scharenberg, 2 top 10 draft picks. they did absolutely F all at the Pies, and Shaz is still on the list and stuff, but he probably will go to Adelaide or Port Adelaide. So it is still a gamble, but it's a gamble you would be willing to take if players don't want to stay at your club. With Adam Treloar, it's a little bit different because family matters and you accommodate for that. Kind of like the Dane Beams things. He wanted to come back down to Melbourne again. So you accommodate for that and you just wish them luck even though you don't want to see them go. But with the Goey, if he doesn't want to stay, let him go. Hopefully we can get something good for him. Another thing that I do want to mention, and the last thing that I will mention, is that I'm sick of Collingwood just caving to these money-hungry players. And I say that not knowing, only going by reports and stuff like that. Kind of like the Grundy deal, 7 years, a reported $1 million a season or whatever it is. We kind of bend over for these players, you know what I mean? But like Geelong built a dynasty because they were just, the players were worth $1 million, but taking, I don't know, 600,000 or 500,000 because they wanted to keep the core group together, bring in better players, and compete for premierships. That's how you build premiership teams, like Hawthorn did, like Sydney probably did as well, like Richmond do, Richmond got a good core, Dusty and Cochin and Lynch and Rewald. They wouldn't be on $1 million each. They'd be close too, but other players will take pay cuts to give that winning culture up. If you're offering every guy that asks $800,000, you don't have room to bring in other players. You can't make your team better, so you get stragglers, and then your bottom 6 become why you lose games and stuff like that. We have to start being ruthless, not only at the trade table, but in contract discussions. Anyway, guys, I'd love to know your thoughts below on all these trade scenarios, and I'll be keeping you updated with videos every every few days whenever all this stuff comes to light and stuff like that. But obviously, follow me on Instagram. That'll be daily postings. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, and until next time, double shackers, I'll swoop you later.
Ooh la la.